Hi there, I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and this is the Design Your Physician Life podcast brought to you by our Maxillary Mastermind, a personal and professional development program for physicians who want to learn about entrepreneurship, gain CMEs, bring their couples to their entrepreneurial career. Today, I'm going to be talking myself about how to prioritize your wellness. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Welcome to this episode. It's going to be part of a series where I want to talk to you about some of the teachings that we have in our Maxillary Mastermind. And in our Maxillary Mastermind, we teach physicians entrepreneurship, but not everything is business and finance. Actually, those are the last topics that we discuss. Why? Because we have to start with a solid base for us to be successful. And we believe on the 6 pillars of entrepreneurship that we call in the Maxillary Mastermind, the 6 pillars. They start with our vision. So we have our physicians design their vision first, more than anything. We work on their mindset. We work on their wellness, lifestyle. We discuss the finance, certainly financial aspects of our businesses as well as our business. But it's very important we go step by step so that you can have a long lasting career in whatever it is that you do. And many of us who have been through burnout want to make sure that we don't go through that again. And we want also, now that we know how to do this, to help others prevent going through there. Wellness is certainly something that is very important to us. And we teach wellness to others all day long, but many times we don't apply those to ourselves. It is true that many physicians, over 50% of us, will do exercise on a regular basis, but we don't necessarily practice other areas of wellness. And actually, less than half of us will be doing things on intention, on part of our habits on a daily basis to really decrease our stress. So it's important for us to beat anxiety, burnout, and procrastination that we get in peak mental and physical conditions. So what's wellness? Wellness is a combination of your being proactive for your health, for your self-care, and it's a balance with your choices. They have to be positive choices. And, close to half of us are really reporting to being burnout. And more than half of us have at least one symptom of burnout. We know that this worsened after COVID, especially for women. Physicians, and it's been a very important trigger for me as a physician to bring you this podcast. That's why we want to teach you entrepreneurship. So the challenge that we have as physicians, they can be a combination of many things, emotional exhaustion, work-life balance, depersonalization, feeling like a lack of support, and also ultimately being in lack of control. Where are we struggling the most? As physicians, we know that our work schedules and our job will definitely give us high stress level, and those will get in the way of us being able to perform. It's going to be very difficult for us in many aspects to build and maintain healthy relationships and engage in meaningful and supportive social connections. And that happens inside and outside of work. How many of us go to our work, to our job, and find that we have meaningful connections there, either, from the people who are helping us side by side to whoever those managers are, especially those who don't own their practices. That's really a very challenging situation on our day to day. And this can lead to our emotional exhaustion, which is normally a basic thing that goes hand in hand with burnout and reduced resilience. Some time ago, we were talking, not too long ago, we were talking about resilience. And we were talking also about addiction with another physician. And many of us, unfortunately, are not raised with the tools, the right tools to be resilient. Resilience means that you're able to bounce back easily from any struggle that you're going through. And for us to be able to do that, we have to practice, we have to learn these skills. As an anesthesiologist, I've learned that nobody is going to have a problem. I'm going to do everything that I can in my power during my days of anesthesiology to have a problem with that patient. So that's why I've trained for that. I've created my systems to make sure that if there's a problem, I can detect them early. And also I have plan A, B, C, D. So if something happens, I know what's next in our algorithms that we've created. But we haven't created necessarily those algorithms for us, for our daily living. And that takes us to reduce resilience. Then if we mix all that with a feeling of lack of support, we might have lack of support both at work and at home. If you go to work and you're in a system where you don't feel like you're being supported, where you have day by day, you have more and more hurdles between you and that patient that you want to care for, and you try to look for alternatives to see how you can lessen that burden. At times we really find ourselves feeling pretty lonely in a corner and not being able to get the support that we need for us to get that patient taken care of. And then on top of that, we might go to a home where there's no support. Our hours at work, the way that we communicate at work can also interfere with the way that we communicate at home. We're used to be giving orders and telling people what to do, and that might not be well received at home, but our brains are trained for that. And these are challenges that we face in our relationships day by day, and then that lack of support might not be there. As physicians, we're high performers. There's an excellence that's expected from us, and we really want to thrive. We were not trained, our brains, our lives, all our lives, we were not trained to simply survive. We really are people who want to thrive. We know that we can do so much better. And struggling with this is a huge deal in our daily living as physicians. So we don't want necessarily just, surviving will be, yeah, we're eating well, we're getting enough sleep, we're managing stress. But when we're thriving, we're using those tools to really have fulfilling relationships, pursuing our hobbies, our passions, doing what we dream of doing, having our purposeful pursuits being fulfilled. That's what we want to do, to feel that energy. That's when we want to thrive. So if we're thinking about strategies for promotion of wellness, we can create a different list. It's very important that when we're thinking about all these things, we're not only thinking, that we also put it into a plan. When you write things down, when you journal, when you sit down to have the time to really plan and create this vision for you and make it part of your daily routine with intention, we're going to be more successful. And if you visit, before I forget, we have in our website, we have something that's called the Thriving Physician Checklist, and you can go there. It's maxalert.com/TC, T as in Tom, C as in cat, and you can get our list from there. So for that list, you're going to have different parts, and this is the wellness part. We want to, as physicians, we know that we are capable of doing so many things, and we're such high achievers that we want to do everything. And many times we think that we're the only ones who can do it as good as we think it can be done. The truth is that we will need help, and we have to get the right help. And delegating is going to be a very important part, a very important step. When we recognize that we need help for our wellness, we have to learn to delegate, because there's something that's called the zone of genius. And that zone of genius is where you succeed. I know personally, I can, learn many programs. I can learn how to do social media. I can learn how to run the front office. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be the person who's going to be running the front office, running the management, running the seeing the patients. For example, if that's the business I want to have, continuing to being a physician and be the boss of that, I have to get help. Delegating is going to be a very important part. Doesn't matter what you're doing in your life, the time's going to come to delegate. And if you delegate, that means that you have added hours to your day of work, that you can be productive. So you have somebody else doing those things that you're able to do. It's not that you're not able to do, but that they are not within your zone of genius. For most of your studying most of your capacities will be flourishing. That part that really is you, the part that's essentially you that nobody else can do. Then we want to also add sustainable lifestyle habits to address both of those, the mental and the physical health. So, which habits can you add? I have talked to other physicians, through doing all these podcasts for over the last year, and physicians have talked to me about their habits. We had a particular episode where this physician told us that even through COVID, that's when they flourished the most. That's where they were feeling the best, because that's when they started to implement habits to take care of their mental and physical health. What can you do? I'll give you some examples. I'll give you some examples of what I do. So I know that once the day starts, once the rest of the family wakes up, I won't be able to necessarily own a lot of that day. That day is going to be consumed by the daily activities of the whole family besides work. So I will make sure that before starting the day, I've done at least, one of these two things. I've taken time to meditate, and I've taken time to prime my day, and I've taken time to exercise. And then I'll alternate this. If one day I meditate, then maybe the other day I exercise. If I haven't really been able to do both things the same day, but I'll make sure that I'll do one of those two things. In my case, I really want to exercise a lot. And that's been my new goal that we're trying to set for the rest of the year so that I can thrive physically. Mentally, if I cannot do the meditation early in the morning, I'll try to do it at some point during the day. And one of the main aspects of my daily meditation is going to be gratitude. Gratitude has been shown to be really helpful for physicians, not only for physicians, for anybody, but physicians who really find gratitude, they can see past their daily struggles. So that's going to be very important for me. So I invite you to find, those habits. The other habit that I've tried to do is when I wake up, many of us will just reach for the phone and look at social media or the news or whatever it is. You know what? Let's put those aside. Do your daily things that are more important to your mental and physical health first. And then later, setting the time aside just to look at social media or just to look at your emails might be a better use of your time. And talking about time, we talk about time management techniques. Delegating the calendar to somebody else has helped me immensely. So I have somebody else that I have assigned my personal assistant, my executive assistant, and I ask her to please be in charge of my time. And what we do is that we try not to double book ourselves, right? So we have the calendar, and I say, you know what, whatever needs to happen, wherever I have to go, I just follow that calendar, and I have assigned that to somebody else to manage. I tell them my rules, and then they manage it. That way, I'm working with both things, right? I'm working with the delegation of that, putting everything in the calendar, and coordinating all those events or activities or meetings. And then I'm also doing my time management, which I've designed according to my principles and values. And that has helped me immensely. So it will help you if you allocate your commitments and make sure that they align with your goals. And then this is a way that you could think about caring for you in your day. That will allow you for having some time to care for your relationships, and caring for your relationships with your teams at work, but also making time for spending time with your friends and with your family. Put those first in your calendar, and that's going to help you to be happier. And then the happier you are, the more clear that you come when you come to work, whatever it is in your office. If you're developing a service, if you're developing a product, that's going to help you clear your mind, because we tend to be users of information. And if we're using all the time, we don't have time to think. We don't have time to create. We don't have time to really enjoy the things that are important for us. So having that time to delegate, the time management, caring for your relationships, caring for the people that you love, people that you work with, and caring for yourself, putting there times for you, that's going to help you being more productive. So that daily wellness ritual is going to be very important. And obviously, if you feel burnout, overwhelmed, or depressed, you have to understand that that's happening to you. Many times we won't understand that that's happening to us, and we might wait for a signal from outside. It happened to me. I really did. Well, I was so tired. I was so burnt out. I didn't smile for 8 months, and somebody told me, "Why is it that I've never seen you smile?" And then that clicked it for me coming from the outside. Once you recognize that, then you get help. In my case, I decided immediately, there's something I'm going to do about this. First, starting is to smile, right? Like intentionally looking at that change in your body. The truth is that the way that you're feeling is going to start with the way that you're thinking. It's going to start with the way that you decide to move your body. So if you decide, because these are decisions that we make on a regular basis, if you decide that your thoughts are going to be negative, that your thoughts are going to be poor, that your thoughts are going to be something that is lean towards something that's hard, difficult, that maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I'm not good enough at that. That's going to be your day. That's going to be your life. And then on top of that, if you decide to live a life where your body is not responding to good thoughts, like, I wasn't smiling. If I put myself to smile, it's not necessarily like fake it till you make it. It's just starting with a good disposition, the same way, like good posture, smiling, the good attitude, the whole package. That's really going to help you advance. So you identify the problem if you're feeling burnout, overwhelmed, or depressed, or somebody brings that to you. In my case, I decided to start and change my attitude immediately, look for the reason why I was feeling like that, and then understanding in my case that I really was better than an employee, an entrepreneur. And then I decided to make that change. Many times we won't be able to make those changes by ourselves, and we'll need the help. So getting the help will be a very important part of it. As JP Morgan says, the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. And in my case, that's why I decided to do. I was not going to stay where I was. I would much rather be in a different place. And it's not necessarily that you're moving from bad and describing that bad situation. It's just describing your future, defining your future, what you want to do. And then who do you want to be? Who do you have to transform into so that you can be that future self? Talking about lifestyle, sustainable lifestyle habits, we have already talked about some. And, if we talk about lifestyle medicine has 5 pillars, right? One of those is sleep. The other one is exercise or physical activities. The other one is good relationships. Another one is detox and avoiding risky substances. And the other one is nutrition. Many of us might be good at doing one of these things. But when you're building something, you want for all your pillars to be taken care of. If you have a building and then you have 5 columns and then one of the columns is a little bit lower than the other, that building is really not going to be that strong. So for us to be able to be strong entrepreneurs and be strong physicians, we really should take a look at all the 5 columns. So sleep. If you don't sleep well, we know that not sleeping well can be as bad as being drunk, for example. And that's when you make you can make a lot of medical errors with the lack of sleep. Exercising, as we said, exercising will actually put you physically in a better state of mind. You have some endorphins that are released and you're feeling so much better if you're not having, any pains. And then what you do is that you prime yourself for that. You recondition yourself. You treat whatever condition is getting you into discomfort or pain. And if you cannot get rid of that specific pain, then you modify your activity to the point where you can really engage in some physical activity. In terms of relationships, we know that good relationships will bring us happiness, emotional support, a sense of belonging, and gain purpose. something that we really discuss a lot of the time in our mastermind and our podcast is that you are the sum of the people who surround you. And you should not be surrounding yourself with people who put you down all the time, who don't believe in you, people who are going to be just a struggle to the things that you know can be done, can be realized. You want to surround yourself with people who are better than you in so many ways so that you can learn from them. You want to also surround with people yourself with people who want to hear what you have to say and you can contribute to your lives in meaningful ways. So that's very important with relationships. That's very important in entrepreneurship. In terms of detox or avoiding risky substances, we have, unfortunately, if we have some exposure to different substances, we can have a increased risk of cancer and hormonal imbalance and things like that. But we can also get into situations where we really get into addiction, right? I've heard of, in these groups where I belong, I've heard, unfortunately, of many physicians, female physicians, who go home to that glass of wine. Oh, and I'm going to deal with the stresses of the day with a glass of wine. And I like to have a glass of wine and I like to have some dinners that really like they don't feel good without that glass of wine, you know? But you can find yourself every day coming to take care of that stress with that glass of wine. And then that glass of wine increases to the point where you cannot deal with stress without that glass of wine. You don't have the resilience, you don't have the tools. So it's important that if you see yourself reaching out for, nowadays it's easier to get pot, for example. It's easy to mix both things. It's easy to have access to many things that we necessarily didn't have such great access before. And it's not that it's good or bad to use these substances in different situations, but making it a habit is the thing that becomes a problem because many of us will be impaired by those choices and we won't be able to have the tools to deal with the problems when we're just dealing with the problems through these substances. Nutrition, finally, I have to tell you that in lifestyle medicine, most of the meals are going to be whole foods, plant-based meals. The blue zones, for example, these are the places where people live over 100 years, most, people on average, and they've been studied. Some of them will have just, vegan based. Some of them will have some meats. But the truth is that most of the meals are going to be in that sense where you have whole based plant, whole foods, plant-based diets. And that will help you to improve your physical health, to improve your gut, your reproductive health, your immune function. You're going to get sick less and you're going to be living longer, but living a healthier way of living. And we know that physicians who talk about these pillars of lifestyle, who live them, they will be able to teach their patients even more because you actually will be living what you're preaching to your patients. And when you find happiness in these things, in these activities, you will be able to share that with your patients and your clients and whatever it is that you're working. As Tony Robbins says, if you talk about it, it's a dream. If you envision it, it's possible. But if you schedule it, it's real. And to just dig a little bit deeper into time management, we talk about making our schedule into things that reflect our priorities and our values. But we cannot make a schedule with following those if we haven't defined those for ourselves, right? So the first thing that we invite people to do is, once we're decided that we're going to design our vision, is really define our values. What guides you, your values? What's your mission in this life? What are your priorities? What are your principles? Define those, and not only define them in your head, write them down, have them somewhere where you can reflect on them, or you can go back and check yourself. Am I following my values? Is my schedule following my values? Do I have some goals? then you can go to get to design your perfect schedule. You can go and then prioritize. Then you can say no to things. You can say, oh, you know what? I can say no to this because that really doesn't align with either my goals, my values, my principles. And you put those aside. And then you can say yes to opportunities that maybe you were not able to say yes before because you didn't have the clarity. It will allow you to focus. Once you're focusing, you can pick the ones that you're really passionate about, the things that are going to be on that scale that you're really passionate about. Delegating, as I said, is going to be one of the first things that you should be able to do, and be very careful to set boundaries when you're delegating, and build thresholds as well. You're going to be defining your financial thresholds for that. And it might be that delegating is good in this situation, but not on that situation. You'll have to learn how to decide. Doing a schedule and focusing on time management will help you deal with distractions. And distractions will come from time to time. You can be double booked when you have a family situation, a dinner, a gathering, and then somebody comes with something for work. You can tell, you know what, I cannot do that. I'm double booked right now. So you deal with that in a way that is going to be human, for the person who's approaching with that situation, but you're already booked for that period of time. And you don't have to say what you're booked for, but if your priority is your family, if your priority is your friends, if your priority is your patient that you have in front of you or your client, then don't double book for other things. So don't let other things distract you. Cravings. Think about cravings. So you notice what you're craving at the moment and how it's contributing to distracting you, and put off important things. Sometimes I crave to go to the beach and not be at work, right? But we know that if we decided to be at work during that period of time, that's what we have to do. So that's an extreme. But sometimes, you can have, I would just like leave this and then maybe go online and check out the Facebook or check out Instagram or something like that. And that's a craving because those things are also addictive. So realize that for you to be successful doing this time management focus will help you deal with those cravings that you might have. I'm going to stop right here. I want you guys to think about this. Wellness has many other different parts, and I'm going to be talking at a different podcast about it. But I want to challenge you right now. I want to have you think about those things that you can delegate. If you have not done a list of your values and your priorities, just take a few minutes and sit down and write them down on a paper. Let's think about just 5 values that guide your life, and put them down. And then think about some principles. Also, let's think about 3 principles and put them down on paper. And then after that, go through your daily life and see which things you might want to delegate. Being calendar, maybe putting things on a calendar is one of them. Organizing, sending emails, reading through your emails, doing your social media. There's a lot of things that you can delegate. So that would be my advice for you right now in terms of wellness for this episode. So first, let's define your values, define your principles, and then make a list of things that you might want to delegate, and start delegating right away. Through the podcast, you've seen that, for example, we had an episode with a person who owns a virtual assistant company. Think about maybe things that you can delegate to a virtual assistant and start getting more hours in the day for you. I hope this was helpful. Please stay tuned with us, with our podcast. Today, we talked about parts of wellness that are so important for our physicians to want to maintain entrepreneurship, be successful in entrepreneurship, design your habits for the long term. If you want to learn more about our Maxillure Mastermind, go to our maxillure.com webpage, MAXALLURE. We have a new cohort starting here at the end of May. We only have 10 seats, and we hope that you can join us. Have a great day.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.